All right, everyone. Hi. Welcome back to the Heroes World Quarantine podcast. I am your host, Dupe. This, of course, is a podcast where we chat about all things geek and pop culture topics. We have these conversations. Normally, they would be in the store, but of course, we're recording them for your enjoyment. You can hear this whether on the internet, on iTunes or Spotify, or you can watch it on YouTube. So we have some various options for you. Today, I am joined, of course, by John and Andre, the proprietors and owners of Heroes World.
And for the iTunes crowd, they just waved.
They waved.
Yes. Yeah, we waved too. What's up?
Yeah, thank you, Rob. Typically, when I say that, hopefully they say something, so the audience at home would get a recognition of their voice. That about people at home is Rob. So Rob is here with us. We're also here with Tim.
Hello.
Regular quasi-contributor Tim, and of course, special guest star Anthony, who is Andre's biological brother. There we go.
Hello, everybody.
Great.
Anthony.
So here we go. So as Rob joked before, Anthony is here not by choice. He is here because he has to be here. So there we go. So today we are going to do a Star Trek focused episode. We had some feedback from the last time we talked about the debacle that was San Diego Comic-Con. So now that Star Trek Lower Decks, the first episode, has dropped, we're going to give our perspective on Star Trek. I am joined, of course, with a group of folks who love Star Trek, who know a lot about it, outstanding of John. And we're going to give our thoughts. And then once we're done, that topic, we'll be discussing some other Star Trek topics, such as Star Trek, the best movie, and Star Trek, which is the best TV show. So that's kind of our agenda today. But let's start off with the first thing, which was Star Trek Lower Decks, which dropped on Thursday, I believe.
Thursday, yep.
So we had some thoughts to gather it. I'm going to start with Anthony first. I'm going to hold for John because I know what he's going to say.
He's so anticipating. John's bouncing in his chair.
We're going to let the wild card go first. Anthony, can you please share your thoughts on the first? Bear in mind, before we start, this was the first episode of a 10-episode order. It is 22 minutes. It's a cartoon show that is executive produced by Alex Kurtzman. It is written by some of the folks from Rick and Morty. It has a cast which is including the son of Dennis Quaid, Jack Quaid, and a few other folks.
Boys fame.
The Boys. So that's a quick rundown if you haven't watched it already. But without, I guess, going to spoilers, you know what?
We might have to go to spoilers.
Okay.
I think everyone's seen it.
You might have to put a spoiler alert across the screen right now.
So pause it and go watch it now.
Let's do this right now. I think we can all, let's say, everyone can agree that I don't even know if we can say agree to watch it. But, okay.
Some of these guys do not agree with that.
Okay, let's start with it. Anthony, yes or no? Would you recommend watching the first episode of this TV show?
The struggle.
You know what?
Yes or no? That's all I want.
I'm going to say no.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you. Tim, yes or no?
I'd say if you're a fan, no. If you're not a fan, no.
Wow.
Double
Andre,
no.
Yes or no?
Hell no.
Rob, yes or no?
Yes, I think you should watch it because this podcast will make a lot more sense.
John, yes or no?
Yes, I would say watch it.
And me, I would say, yeah, watch it. So here we go.
Yeah.
Anthony, now that we've given, it's a half
3-on-3.
3-on-3 battle.
Hold on, my mic is messing up. I heard 3 of you say yes.
Yes, 100%, Tim, 100%. 3 people say yes, 3 people say no, but I want Anthony now. Spoilers, this is now at this point of view, based on 3 of our opinions. Really, there's not much spoke. It's only 22 minutes of a first episode, but if you're sensitive, please note that we're spoiling. John will put in a tag later on to denote when this conversation is over and the next topic begins. Just please a note of that. You'll see that at the bottom of the comments. But Anthony, this is your time to talk about the show.
Yeah, well, my initial feeling about watching it was disappointment. Disappointment from, as Andre was saying, insults to the fans. But it was to me, it was disappointment because there was a lot of things I did like about it, but the whole thing was too obnoxious. And I'm like, this looks like a Rick and Morty episode. And then I guess doing a little bit of research, it's the guy who wrote Rick and Morty or writes Rick and Morty.
What
And
a
I'm
guy.
like, because at first I thought, oh, this is a cartoon for the kids due to the animation. And then like actually, let's go back a little bit, right? Right in the beginning, I thought, okay, this is for kids until the drunkenness, the batlet attack on the leg. Okay, this isn't for kids. And then when it went into like the intro credit screen, that was, I think, the first insult, because if you really look deep into that, the ship was going into a black hole and then it got out, okay. And then, but you saw one of the nacelles crash into the ice and it starts flickering out. And then you see it go to it sees a bunch, I think it was some Romulans fighting some Borg, and they're like, reverse, get the hell out of here. And I'm like, this ain't Star Trek. This is not the attitude of Starfleet. This is not an attitude of great explorers. This is not and I was a little bit insulted by that. And like, granted, there's a lot of ways to introduce comedy, but not from insulting, I think, the vision of Gene Roddenberry or something. It's just right from the get-go. But I was okay with that. Once I started getting, okay, it's like, I can let that slide. But one thing before I start is like, everybody knows how high my brother's level as when watches those. Mine isn't that high. To me, if it's a decent storyline and lots of ordnance, I'm a happy guy. But what I did like about the show is I really liked the characters. Mm-hmm. The problem was the whole show was a little too obnoxious, so it was hard to get in. But like when you had like at first I hated Mariner because she's too obnoxious, but what did it for me was the relationship between what was the guy's name, Beaufort or
hold on, just because people might not have remembered the names. Who were they?
The geeky guy, the main geeky guy at the beginning.
The guy with the robotics? Oh no,
the
main guy.
The
the main red guy.
Yeah, he was like the super geeky by the book. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And what I really liked when we got to, let's call it the spider incident, it's like we saw a bit of the character. Brad. Yeah, we saw a bit of the character development where he started to soften up a bit, and then we realized, I think it was Ensign Mariner, who she has some flaws because she's been through some shit, and that scene with the spider sort of outlined that, and then all of a sudden you have a little bit of, hey, there's a story, there's a relationship that could be built on. And I thought that was really cool. I also like Tendy's character, where she's so positive, where coming through, oh my God, I'm so excited to be on a starship. I'm excited to meet people. And just to see the interactions of how all these little misfits sort of come together and, like these average people about to do something extraordinary or above average. So I think that's why at the beginning I was humming and hawing. It's like, it's too obnoxious, but I think if this was done properly, this could have been something special. So that's really my take on it.
Well, that's a good, strong first take. We're going to continue on with Rob. Don't worry, we'll swing back around. So now that I kind of know the configuration of yes and no's, Rob, you're up.
So listen, John and I did a hot take on this on Instagram on Friday, I think, or no, Thursday night, just as it was finishing airing. And so my biggest thing to John, and what I said to everybody who was watching at the time, was, who is this for, right? Like, last week we talked about the Transformers show, and I said, no, you shouldn't watch it. And then Pat was like, no, yes, you should. And I started thinking about it, and so when you asked the question earlier, should we watch this? Yes, I think you should watch this show, because I think you need to make yourself an informed opinion about whether or not it's something that you want to dedicate your time to. Personally, for me, it's not worth the 22 minutes or 24 minutes or whatever it is to set aside every week to watch this show. And maybe 22 minutes doesn't sound like a lot, but during this show, it felt like 2 hours. Like, I will say there was a couple of times where I did laugh out loud.
Did you watch it right before nap time?
I watched it right after nap time. I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I was like, "Ooh, let's watch it."
Yeah.
I you know, I just don't know who this is for. There's a couple of times I laughed out loud. There are some callback things I thought were decent. But again, the entire time I'm watching this, I was like, what is the purpose? What is the purpose of this show? Who is this really for? Because it's either for hardcore Trekkie fans or Trekkers, however you want to classify yourself, or it's for people who are even, I guess, give me really big fans of Rick and Morty, because there didn't seem to be any Rick and Morty humor in there. So who is this really for? And I don't like, what was the purpose of creating this show? I don't understand it. I read a review in Rolling Stone magazine, and apparently I think it's this coming week's episode, there might be a bit more graphic detail of things, more dirty humor, which is way up my alley. Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty stoked about that. I don't know if it was Tim I was speaking to or somebody else. And if it's Tim, I'm going to steal your thunder on this one. Why did they bleep out the swearing when there's full of swearing in Picard and Discovery? I don't like.
No. Okay, but hold on. But this then brings into play, who is this for? Because if you're going to do the dirty humor, then obviously you mean it to be for adults.
Right.
So then the bleeping would make sense.
I think the bleeping was at the end, kind of like coming up for the season, right?
The doctor said, oh, you know, something about I got this shit or whatever. Like, that's what it was. And they bleeped out the word shit. And I'm like, well, I don't understand. It's at 9 o'clock at night.
I think it's for comedic purposes, because they show a clip later on and it's always the same character, the cat doctor character that gets a random bleep. Or not a random bleep, but gets bleeped. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Is it for Argent Doctor?
I think it's for comedy reasons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
to John's point, I think that it's kind of the Ren and Stimpy style, where maybe they're trying to dance around and not go too far with just putting down the F-bombs, because we saw with Ren and Stimpy, when the best Ren and Stimpy was when they danced around profanity or they bleeped it out. And then when they just started doing the swear words, it wasn't fun at all. It was like, I just don't need Stimpy to yell the F word 3 times in a row. Like, it's
I don't know. I mean, it's the same.
So I think it's used for comedic purposes, to be fair.
Well, okay. So I wouldn't consider I've watched all the movies. I own them. I enjoy them. I don't watch them all the time. I've watched all of the series. So I've enjoyed it. If a new movie was to come out, and we can talk about that big news that happened on the week this couple days ago.
All the series, like you watched every single.
Yeah, I've watched them. Yeah, because you know what? Admittedly, when you're home and you're sick, there's only so much Regis and Kelly you can watch, right? Like, there has to be something else to be able to watch. So
R.I.P. Regis.
Voyager,
that's for next week's podcast too. So don't spoil that.
Voyager on space or whatever was always my jam, but. You know, I don't know who this show was for. It wasn't for me. I'm a decent fan of Star Trek. I will watch next week's episode because of the promise of some more dirty shit happening. But I that's really the only reason that's hooking me. Nothing else in this show has hooked me to continue watching.
All right. Thank you for that. That was
You're very welcome, Stuart.
Thank you, sir. Tim, let us continue on this. Yeah, we're going back and forth between good and bad. Here we go.
Well, we're going to continue on the hate train, baby. No, I did not like this show. Bad theme song. I thought the theme song was really poor when you consider like the newer songs that they've been releasing, like especially Discovery's, even Picard's song. It's a pretty good theme. This one was very generic, very blah.
It's been a long time. Or the Enterprise. Can we put some lyrics there? Just from here to there?
No, just the music, right? The music was bad. I think the drawing, I'm surprised at the animation choice, because this animation style has been done many times now. So I feel like if they were going to do a Star Trek cartoon for the first time in a long time, like what are we talking, 40 years since the last one, you know, pick something new, pick something special. I find it very odd that they went with the style that Final Space employed, which is like kind of like a futuristic-y Star Trek type cartoon. Did you guys watch Final Space?
Did, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean,
some of it.
Yeah, like that was
all of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched all of it.
Yep.
Season 1 was really good. Like that there. Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, that's little Cato in the show. That's the Doctor.
Yep.
on Star Trek. Like
Yeah.
it's a total rip on that exact character.
I don't know.
No, but I mean, it looks just like him.
But technically, to be fair, Little Carter ripped off the cat from Star Trek, the original cartoon show from the 70s. So if you're gonna go back, it's kind of like the people today making all that like that's what she said jokes. The Office, but it's not from The Office. Where is it from? Do you know where the OG is from?
Somebody help me out.
Anyone?
Don't know.
Wayne's World. When on SNL, Garth and Wayne, when Mike Myers is like, that's what she said. Like that's where it comes from, and then they usurped it from another source. Okay. So I get how you're saying Little Cat.
But if I was, but Final Space.
But Final Space is a rip, right? Star Trek, though.
Of course.
I know, but I didn't appreciate the art style. The storyline, okay, fine, it's okay, but I just as Rob is saying, I'm just not sure who this is for because they make all the mentions, they do all the name drops of all the Next Generation
at
characters.
The end,
right? So obviously that's to play on people who have been watching Star Trek and know that. Otherwise, you have no context. I don't know. As a fan, I wasn't keen on it. I think we've got so many Star Trek properties going on right now that to push this in, I don't know what the need is. I just don't know that we need it right now. Maybe in a time when we were in a lull, maybe this would have been good, but right now I can't enjoy it. I'll watch it because it's 22 minutes or whatever an episode.
Is there anything positive you can say about this, Tim? Or is that?
It's
like
this podcast it ends right before his show comes on, right? It ends right before New Discovery starts or something like that. This show.
Yeah.
It basically is during the lull.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, but we just suffered through Picard. Like, just give us a break. let us have some time.
So
I can't.
There's nothing positive whatsoever.
No, I cannot.
Okay, no. That's fine. We'll carry on. John,
I want to be positive, but no.
John, go for it.
Oh, I thought you were going for degrees of hate.
No, I'm not. No. Okay.
So I
zig and zag.
I really enjoyed the show. I totally see what Anthony is talking about. I feel like in this first episode, and remember we're only on the first episode, there's definitely the term try hard. It was trying a little bit too hard to get those laughs. But I know the exact audience this is for, and this is for those people that don't have time to sit through an hour worth of show, or maybe they were fans of Family Guy and Final Space, like all these shows that have been knocking off Star Trek and riffing off it. Family Guy, even Simpsons, Futurama is even like a steal of Star Trek. It's like all this. Why not do it themselves? Why not pull the 8 Mile and Eminem rap about all your flaws and make fun of yourself so that you can defeat Anthony Mackie in that final battle? So that's my feel.
This is the weirdest analogy.
Bravo, John. Bravo.
It's a life lesson.
Bravo.
You can use that analogy in anything you talk about.
He defeated Mikel Pfeiffer, but now he's coming after Anthony Mackie.
He's got to defeat Anthony Mackie, right?
Yep, 100%. Yep.
So I feel like this is for that audience,
Bravo.
and I talked about it like that it fits in. Like for me, I actually watched there's a Star Trek episode actually called Lower Decks, which I guess this was inspired by. And it's freaking super fucking sad.
Yes.
I don't know if anyone remembers the episode.
100%. Inside Out.
But
remember the episode.
A bunch of crew members who are during promotion time, they're getting evaluated by their superiors. They're questioning why they're doing certain things.
They each have their own mentor. Yeah.
Yeah, and then one of them like sacrifices himself at the end, never to be seen again.
On a reconnaissance mission. So she was pretending to be a Bajoran capture to deal with the Cardassians. So one of them mentor was Worf.
Not Kim and Jenna and Kylie.
One was mentored by Beverly Crusher. That's Nurse Ogawa. Then we had a mentor, which was Riker, and then we had a science officer who was to Geordi. So that was like the 4 command, and they also revealed that they also played. Rob's falling asleep. They also played cards as well. So here we go. Everyone plays poker in the future.
But even the higher ups would play poker too.
Yeah, not Hold'em, not Texas Hold'em. Traditional.
I don't know
poker.
what they were playing. It was weird. Yeah.
It was a 5-card stud.
Yeah, but that show doesn't fit into my schedule right now. I only have time to, really think about like a Westworld or whatever you're watching. So I need a show that just kind of fits in there. Then you can almost turn your brain off to, and you can kind of watch and enjoy. Maybe you can watch a couple times in a row. And I really like I don't know if still we're going to get deeper into the themes of the show and things like that, but I did really like the theming of the show, of these underdogs, these guys that aren't necessarily the top dogs, the heroes, the captains of the ship. These are the cogs that get the ship running, and this is their day-to-day life. So it was cool to see like those two, the new girl and the guy with the Vulcan implant, when the elevator didn't open during the blah blah blah, and they're geeking out over it. They're like, oh, I can't believe the thing didn't blah 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 during the emergency, and they're like, yeah, and then so they're taking pride in like their job to keep this ship running, and they're fixing like replicators, all this kind of stuff.
And then they made out. That was the best part of that scene.
I think it was it's Ensign Rutherford, John, that you're mentioning, the ensign with the implant.
Yeah. And then even the Beckett
cyborg ripoff.
I like that she's a character that's happy where she is. You don't have to always want to be the captain, the top dog. She's like, I can get so much done down here. So in the similar theme to that Lower Decks episode, they're questioning like the higher ups, like how we're in a situation now where we're thinking, what the hell are these higher ups doing, in charge, and questioning it and thinking, hey, there's ways to get this better. Like they're sent down to the planet to set up a communication array for these aliens to communicate with Starfleet, right? And how does that help them? Where she goes, gives them shovel and a hoe and equipment to actually be able to do something. So I thought that, and she's like, you can do more here, and I'm not the captain of this ship. So you know what I mean? Like I like that theming.
Yeah.
So I think I've spoke too much. So I'll let
too much
Andre
positivity from you, John. You gotta slow it down.
Unicorns and rainbows.
Positive nature. Tim is melting. Do you not see his face? He's just anguishing there. He's like,
you're just sad, Tim, because you got defeated by Eminem in 8 Mile now.
It's true.
Take that, Falcon.
The rap battle failure. Andre, it is up to you now. Let you go full Hulk and rage out like you will. Because I'm ready for it. Because I'm clean up, so go for it.
I think the show itself said that had the best line for me in the holodeck scene, and you've got the three characters, and I had to write it down to get the quote right. And the main character, is it Mariner? Is that what her name is?
Mariner, yeah. Beckett Mariner.
Beckett Mariner, yeah.
She's like, they're in the holodeck, and she says, pretty cool, right? You can go anywhere you can possibly imagine. And that's what Star Trek is. Yet these guys decided to go with this show and do this thing. I'm like, the galaxy, your imagination, sky's the limit, and you give us derivative Drek. You give us like the lower than low dick jokes, nudity jokes, make out, stupidity.
Hey, the dick and nudity jokes were like one joke. You can't.
Doesn't matter.
Apart now.
Let him go. Let him unleash. This is it. This is releasing the Kraken. Let Andre go. Let Andre go. I'm just listening quietly.
Star Trek, if you're gonna do something, what does this? Ask yourself the question: what does this add to Star Trek? It doesn't add anything. Nobody asked or needed this. If you're going to do something, you need to add to it. Deep Space Nine added, Voyager added. Like there's things that go. Usually, you might not agree with me, but they added to the mythos. This to me, this detracts from the mythos. We've said it. Who's the audience? If you don't know anything about Star Trek, that first scene goes over your head. What's a back left? Why is this person stealing stuff? Why are they all drinking and stealing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, this stuff is just, it just doesn't feel like Star Trek. Fine, we got so much like Futurama, Rick and Morty that take our pop culture stuff and they blend it and they give us something else, right? But it's, you in order to get those references, you have to kind of know the source material or whatever, Family Guy, all of these things doing it, right? But I disagree with John saying that why not do it yourself? You don't do it yourself because you hold yourself to a higher bar. And I think there are no shows out there that are like Star Trek. Star Trek had its vision of the future, and although it's been changed and it's a little bit now negative, it did have this idea of working together, the utopias, and this bringing together, and there's no show that's ripped that off. And to me, you stay in your lane, you stay in your wheelhouse. Let us talk about that and go that route. I'll put it in another way. Stu's not vibing me. Okay. listen, can we all agree that Mario Kart is a good game?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Mario Kart's a fun game, right?
Yeah.
Now, Gran Turismo is also a fun game, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Two
If
different
you're-
audiences.
Define fun.
You're a car enthusiast.
It's a simulation.
It's a very different
It's a
game.
simulation.
Yeah.
Two
It's,
different-
A simulation.
So no one is going to want Gran Turismo to become Mario Kart, and no one's going to want Mario Kart to become Gran Turismo. I don't want to be buying new tires and a new transmission in my Mario Kart game, right? Know your audience and play to it. So that these guys here have no idea who they're marketing it to, and there's no possible way that anybody who comes to this show that doesn't know Star Trek will be like, hey, I really like Star Trek. I am going to consume other Star Trek material. No, they're fans of Rick and Morty. They're fans of Family Guy. They're fans of all those other crass type of shows. End stop, period. These guys are not going to take the time to get and to dig into Star Trek. So I don't know why you would risk losing your long-term Star Trek fans.
But Andre, going off last week, how many monkeys can create a better script for this after they're done with the Transformers script writing?
Oh,
how many do we need?
So this one, you probably don't even want monkeys. You want those. you want those guys from what was that other the little DreamWorks animation with Chris Rock, or with those marsupials. You only need those guys.
Madagascar.
But Andre, I want to mention something quickly, because like when you said when you insult the Trekkies, I think that's been done. Because I don't know if any of you guys watched Prelude to Axanar or even Star Trek Continues or some of the fan fiction that took great care and expense and love for the core material. And then CBS comes in, nope, we ain't having any of that. And then we get this, and I can see like the people who did all that fan fiction are going, what? You know, so it's
that's exactly it. That's exactly my point. Okay. Some executive made a decision at CBS and said, "Yo, we need to get these this Rick and Morty crowd or Rick and Morty money or whatever they want to do." And again, I don't know why fandoms are not fandoms, why property holders aren't happy when you've got a huge fan base and you can kind of listen, not listen to them, but deliver what they want. Like listen, if you're a great steak chef, right, and that's what you're known for, maybe you don't try and make, Chilean sea bass or something. Okay. You stay in your wheelhouse. Right. But let me see one other thing before I go. You said this was written by or produced by Kurtzman?
Yes, he's one of the executive producers, I think.
That's my problem with this Ortsy and Kurtzy combination.
They're not together. They're not together.
I know they're not, but I'm just putting them both. They
haven't been together for like 8 to 10 years. So it's not necessarily putting
bad together or separate. Kurtzman, not good. Ortsy, not good. I don't understand who could watch Star Trek and be like, you know what we need? We need a Star Trek where they go into the holodeck and they make like nudie jokes. That's what Star Trek's been missing.
That's the same joke. That's the third time that joke comes up.
I would appreciate that actually if it was a good joke.
Okay, are you finished, Andre? Are you finished?
Where else you get Star Trek? That's my issue. Star Trek is supposed to kind of uplift us and all these other things. It's supposed to be a smart. I don't want to say smarter show, but maybe less smarter, more intellectual.
Campy show.
And there isn't any other sci-fi or any other TV that's quite like Star Trek. So why should?
Which is doing a better Star Trek show than any Star Trek show.
Right. It's a better Star Trek show than new Star Trek. But
yes, 100%.
That's my thing. Why keep doing this other stuff? Why try to emulate something else? Anyways.
It's not going to lose them any viewers. You're not going to say, I'm not going to watch any Star Trek because
I disagree.
Okay, one second.
Okay,
let me give me some thoughts.
I'll help Stu covers it.
You gotta. I gave you all your time to talk. Let me go right now. So first off, let me just say something about the fandom. Like Anthony, I get your point. There are fans who cared and wrote something, fan fiction and whatnot about it. But we learned from different media properties. You can't let someone else do it because you own the intellectual property. And if you let someone do it, it could be like Blizzard and Dota. You know, like they created a game, they let someone make a module in it, and then they didn't write, we own the module. Now Dota makes more money, and Blizzard now, from now onwards, will say, if you make any game, modifications of the game, we own it. So people have learned their lessons when it comes to that. If that Star Trek show would have been decent, and those guys were going to spin this off, the only thing that can happen is that they lose more money. They don't gain any money. So I totally understand the care.
But I think you have to remember again, I agree with you 100%. But there was a time, I think, when J.J. Abrams was trying to release a movie, and he was saying, hey, the lawsuit is over. Come on, don't screw. Please come watch my movie. Yeah. It's like, psych.
But again,
right? So it was just a further insult.
Everyone's, it depends on where you are involved in the machine. So it's totally understandable.
They could have bought Axanar, and they could have said, okay, we're going to officially own this, and we're going to hire the people who made it, and let's do it, because that was really cool.
But again, they might not have known who was running the show, whether they had any production credits. It's a hard
the people running it, so they knew, right? They knew.
At the end of the day, you didn't green light this idea, so you don't get the credit for it. So I understand why executives do it, because their whole existence is to keep their job. But that's a whole different conversation. It's the same reason when a new person comes in to take over a network, they pick their own shows and they get rid of everything else, even though they're amazing shows, because the executive's like, I didn't come up with this idea, so I'm getting rid of it because it's not in my best interest. So that's a whole different conversation. In regards to Star Trek, this Lower Decks thing, I didn't hate it. I think that in terms of who this show is for, it's for the millennial generation, like right now, that's kind of flux. Because let's be frank, it's the same. Andre, you and me love Supernatural, but I can't in good conscience say watch Supernatural because it's 15 damn seasons. It's the same thing about Star Trek. It's like, I love DS9. It's my favorite show, and breaking already. But I can't tell someone to watch the first 3 seasons. It's brutal. At this point, it's like, it's slow, it's boring. But I said, if you can do it, do it. Watch it. It pays off by watching the first 3 seasons, but watch from 4 to 7. That's the good stuff. At this point, as Rob mentioned, time is a very precious commodity now. So it's difficult to have someone to say, well, this show may be a gateway to someone to watch Star Trek, but you can't have them all watch all of it. It's a different comparison to Star Wars, where it's just 3 movies. At the time, we had only 3 movies. Like, I need you to watch this. It's only a 9-hour commitment. That's fine, but 22 episodes a season at 42 minutes is just too much for any person to commit to, unless they're sick all the time and they're a bubble boy. So it's a really difficult situation.
Stu, you know what? I think that if you're most shows, if you're going to be humorous and in an animated forum, there are a handful of better episodes or better shows that you can watch, like Big Mouth.
But let me go into this, Rob. So comedy is a very difficult thing to master, and it's very subjective. Like, it's difficult. And I look at my favorite comedy of all time, 30 Rock, and it's not a good first episode. You watch 30 Rock again, and it's not great. It has to set up the universe. You have to intro the characters. The jokes don't necessarily fall perfectly, but as the time grows, you find a way to figure things out. It got progressively better, just like Parks and Recreation, just like The Office. The first season
Seinfeld. Just like Seinfeld. The first season or 2 seasons of Seinfeld,
the Seinfeld jokes, Chronicles.
Yes, right, and then it found its footing. So I'm supporting what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Comedies take some time to maturate and grow. I think if it wasn't a Star Trek property, I think there's a little more forgiveness. But to your point, like, because you set it up in the Star Trek universe, it's difficult. I think to Andre's dismay, this is going to have more viewership than Rebels, because it's a little more easy and palatable to watch. There are going to be more people talking about the show than Star Trek Rebels, even though Star Trek Rebels is a way better TV show. Star Wars Rebels. But you can't compare also, because any Star Trek show, it's a 2-hour
I would watch Star Trek Rebels
premiere. Remember TNG? It was a 2-hour event. DS9, 2-hour event. Voyager, 2-hour event. So we can't even compare this to other Star Trek shows because it's 22 minutes. So this whole show, 10 episodes, could probably equal out maybe 3 episodes of a regular Star Trek show. So it's a conducive way to introduce new people to the fandom on a kind of to trick them to watch something that's a little lower, it's in the same universe, but not necessarily the same daunting commitment if you have to watch 22 episodes for the next, 7 shows to catch up. It's the same thing I talk about my people about Doctor Who. I'm like, I love Doctor Who, but people are like, where do I have to start? How many episodes are there? I'm like, oh God, like
702, and stop complaining.
Yeah, like you know, and that's the thing about Star Trek. Like Star Trek, this could be someone's, you know, first introduction, and they could like it, and they could introduce them to more Star Trek.
But then all of a sudden, if they go to say, oh, I like Lower Decks, I watched 10 seasons, let me go watch Discovery or whatever is currently on, and it's totally different.
Yeah.
And I think
can I just say, if you want a like a gateway show, right? I feel like they should have expanded upon short treks. Like, I don't know if you guys are watching short treks, but short treks are amazingly well done. In the second season, they have 2 episodes that are animation, which are not this animation. Like, it's its own styles. One is a more CG, one is more hand-drawn, but really good episodes in short treks that totally lead into the seasons of the show, right? Like, so to Andre's point, I'm going to watch short treks. I'm going to see Tilly. I'm going to see Captain Pike. I'm going to see those characters and go, I want more of that. I've got this nice little digestible episode, and now I want to see more. That leads you into the show, and then away you go, right? I think short treks is amazing, and I don't know why they didn't just bring that bigger.
And on that note, like, I know John's not in a position to have a lot of time to watch multiple long shows, but there's nothing wrong with that. But we don't have to package everything for people who don't have the time. Like, I think there was a really good quote I read, and it was Carl Sagan talking about how everything is just being distilled down, and we're getting shorter, and now we're in the tweet cycle where we've got 144 characters. I think people who make things have to be like, hey, I'm gonna make this for this audience, and the audience will find it, and when they have time, they'll go back to it. But I can't be like, oh, I want to tell this story.
It'll be canceled by that time.
Well, but
in this environment.
But John, you can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna only make a 15-minute television show because I think everybody can watch it on their phones. Sure, they can, but you're not adding anything. That's not art.
But I think, John, I think Andre, the thing is, like, this is not a show that is required to like Star Trek. This is a one-off in a separate universe, which is why the art is not realistic, which is why it's cartoonish, although Tim doesn't like the way it's drawn right now. It's set in a way that, because it's distinct and something out of Star Trek, that it doesn't pull you into, let's say, it's canon in Star Trek. At the end of the day, this is not about Pokemon. You don't have to catch them all. You don't have to watch them all. So
there's going to be 5 shows.
The fact that we have 5 separate shows, you can pick the Star Trek you want. So it's like, unlike those Marvel Cinematic Universe where you have to watch everything, they're giving you options like the DCU where if you don't like this, you can watch Discovery. If you don't like this,
infinite diversity.
You can watch Pike in Star Trek Beyond or whatever. You can watch the thing you want.
Is that what we're gonna do going forward? We're gonna have an IP, and we're like, we don't know where this IP is gonna go, so we're gonna blast it and make it for every segment. That's my problem.
It's not. It's Andre. You have a decision now as
correct.
Your IP. You have to make a decision whether it's a shared universe or it's not. And if it's not, then who cares? Do whatever you want. Like, you don't have to like it, Andre, but you don't have to watch it.
But what I'm saying is, if you look at how much attention they're putting towards that, right? How much attention they're putting to diversifying this thing.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you're like, why can't they spend that effort and time into the purest form of the entertainment form? Meaning, if you're gonna do a Star Trek, Star Wars, Marvel thing, I don't think we need a serious Daredevil, a comedic Daredevil, a black and white movie of Daredevil. You know what I mean? Like you just no. There's Daredevil, and there's what it is and what it can be. There's whatever Star Trek, and sure, it's a wide galaxy, but again, why do we need 5 different things to reach everybody? You're not going to get everybody. Let's take a look at, put it in a perspective. For our store, we have as much as we can have. We have comics, we have board games, we have graphic novels, we have statues, but there's twice as many things that we could also have that we don't have, because that would water us down too much. We can't experts on everything. So we chose and we broadened the horizon. The store is called Heroes World, but we don't have a ton of sports stuff because we know we're not the experts in that. So I'm just trying to say these shows we want to have a serious Star Trek, okay, boom. Oh, now we want to have a comedic Star Trek, boom. Oh, now we want a Star Trek that appeals to whatever Gen X, or so it's going to be Star Trek about racing starships across the galaxy. And like, what the hell is going on? You can't do it all. And even if you could, I think you should ask yourself why, because you're never going to catch every customer, every viewer. And I just believe that.
But I don't think it's about catching every viewer. It's about now with social media. It's about micro, influencers. It's about everyone has their small pocket of people. And if this gets a small pocket of people to follow that show, that's all they need. And that's will make a show successful. You don't.
Well, I suspect with this show, you are going to only have a small pocket of people
and that's
watching
fine.
it because it's not that great.
Like we don't want. Like here's the thing about Star Trek. It's inclusive.
We'll see.
We're not
10 episodes in,
gatekeepers.
we're going to see.
We don't want to hold back fandom to say, well, it's not the Star Trek. We're not going to be Civil War reenactors who are going to put there and be like, the Star Flag uniform doesn't have the right chevron or the right pip on the uniform, and that's incorrect. So this is the thing where I'm fine with it. Let them try it. Because frankly, we didn't have any Star Trek options for a long time. And I don't like Discovery. I hated Picard. So the fact that it's trying something
Tim
new.
and Stu are going to go at it right
Picard
now.
is awful. It was the worst
Picard
thing.
is awful.
It was.
And then Stu's going to go against
Honestly,
Andre now.
It was like Star
Are we
Trek.
talking
Andre's
about shows
point,
now?
We'll go in a second. But to Andre's point, positivity, the nature of the show, it's about the future and what it can be. And that was nothing like Star Trek either. But I get why they did it, because shows are made for the decade, the viewership of what people want to see, which is why Blade Runner, which I love, the new Blade Runner, did so poorly at the box office because it's so damn slow, because it was emulated the 80s. And the 80s movies were slow. Now they have to be fast and furious with cars flying everywhere and stuff all the time because, frankly, people don't want to watch slow movies. And if
they don't have to be. It's just that's what the people.
That's what makes money.
Yeah, but again, that's not staying true to the vision, right? If you want to sell out and just make money, then that's what you do. But there's a ton of good movies that are actually like smart and well written, but you're right, we don't hear about them. They're not the blockbusters or whatever, but they're critically acclaimed. Like that Blade Runner, perfect example, critically acclaimed. It didn't do well, but it's definitely not a bad
movie. Even let's look at
Stargate.
Stargate.
But they can't afford to make another one now.
Yeah, but look at Stargate. Stargate counted as an action movie, and it transitioned into basically like a Star Trek show, because that was a big budget action movie, which they saw the potential to make it into a sci-fi TV show, which spawned 3 TV shows and an animated series as well. So like people can come from different angles. So, but nonetheless, we're at the end of the day, we're gonna jump into the next.
Also, did Andre just pitch a Fast and the Furious style Star Trek show about 100%. Underground fleet racing? Because yes. I'm in.
Because
we already had that. That was Star Trek 3 Beyond.
No, I live my life a quarter.
To be fair,
quarter parsec at a time.
To be fair,
parsec at a time.
Tom Paris did race in the Delta Flyer in Voyager. They did a space race, and Harry Kim was part of that team. So it's already been done, Andre. So, and that's what the thing about Star Trek is. It's goofy, it's campy, and anyone who's like, oh, it has to be this. I'm like, I can go through 10 ridiculous, dumb episodes of Star Trek in any show and say, hey, really? You're going to stand up to this bar when we've done, these type of episodes? And I'll wait till we get there, because but that's the
Star Trek needs to catch up too. Like
Star Trek
Wars
is
like
ridiculous.
Up here, Star Trek, like,
and I love
they
it.
used to be equals, right? Star Trek and Star Wars.
But every Star Trek, I'm sure there's fandoms that don't like the new shows, because their original 90-year-olds who watched the original Star Trek was like, I didn't like the new generation. And then there's TNG fans who are like, I didn't like Voyager. And then there's Voyager fans who, so everyone doesn't like something. So that's one thing that's conducive of Star Trek, is because it's been around for so damn long and so many iterations, people don't like a lot of things. Anyway, so now we're going to jump to the next thing, because I think now we're getting to general discussion. Let's talk about the best Star Trek movie, because clearly I'm somehow transitioned to team positive here. So we're going to talk about the best Star Trek movie ever. At this point. So John, take note and put this in the comments below. Before we go, please enter your thoughts in the comment section below, whether you like Lower Decks or not. and your thoughts on what your favorite Star Trek movie is or favorite.
Hey, yeah, get your predictions in now. We're only on episode 1. Episode 10, if this turns into a blockbuster and we see a ton
I'm gonna
of
watch it
merchandise,
all. I'm watching
and
all
this
of it.
elevates Star Trek up.
I look forward to watching compared to dread of watching Picard. So there we go. And did Ichab and Hugh wrong. Stupid show. Anyways, let's continue on. So I'm gonna go start the other direction now. We're gonna reverse.
And this is where John gets confused. For those who are listening through iTunes or Spotify, John is like, "Wait a minute. When do I get to go first? Why are we going back?
We're not snake drafting.
This is not a snake draft format, so it doesn't matter. So, Andre, what, in your opinion, is the best Star Trek movie of all time?
The best or my favorite?
The best, not your favorite. Well, I guess my best is my favorite, but you have to pick the best Star Trek movie.
The best. Oh man, that's tough. That's tough. I'm gonna say Wrath of Khan. Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. I think that was the best the best movie. It added to the episode, so it was a direct, kind of addition to connection, right? Had all the actors. It was super well done.
Montalban.
It was really, really good.
And it was scary. When they dropped that thing into Chekhov's ear as a young kid.
I was going to bring that up. That scarred me.
No, you weren't.
That scarred me.
That was freaking me out, man. I was like tripping.
There was 2 guys. They put their helmets on and made it crawl in. That scared me for life.
And some of the best quotes are from that movie. It's totally,
But I've got a couple of
But wait, we'll get back to you, Andre.
Not moments, but I think like that I think is the best movie. But I think I've got a couple really good moments of memories from other Star Trek.
Okay, we'll get back to that because I want people to talk to their movies, and I'll come back to you because you might be stealing someone's thunder in terms of that. So
it's just no. Go ahead.
That's fine. So Wrath of Khan, you did you watch it in the theaters, or what was your experience in terms of like?
Wrath of Khan was in the theater, yeah.
Wrath of Khan was in the theaters. So wow, Anthony, were you accompanying him on this? Were you together there?
I can't remember, but
we did.
It's kind of funny because Wrath of Khan is my favorite too. But you know what it is? I think it was the most impactful because I did watch it in the theater. But you know what? Like when we have these conversations, it's like a lot of people, Star Trek's an investment. It's a relationship. You spent years. So I remember coming out the theater and people were bawling. People were crying. They were like teary-eyed because when Spock died. Everyone's like, it was...
Oh, spoiler for Wrath of Khan.
No. There's no excuse. At this day and age, there's no excuse for that. But
don't worry.
Like I said, that was a vivid memory. That was a vivid memory for me, walking out of the theater and people looking for Kleenex and crying.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, and I love the Khan character, the actor. He's just so brilliant coming back and doing that. It was just awesome. So yeah, to me that was my favorite.
And so that was a good segue.
It's very rare for Andre and I to be in sync this way too. It's kind of
dude, this is a perfect segue. Let me just finish this story. So one of the reasons that I got my brother on the podcast with us today is he's my older brother, and we're 5 years apart. But most siblings, they want to be like their older siblings. So I've got Anthony to thank for getting me into all of this sci-fi stuff and comic book stuff and fantasy stuff. Like I used to borrow his Dragonlance books. I used to, if he was watching something, I was watching it. A fond memory for me for Star Trek was myself and Anthony and my aunt taking us to go see Star Trek the Motion Picture. So that's why I have those memories of us going to the theater together and enjoying that. And look, I can't even remember how old I was to see that movie. And I know I didn't understand the Star Trek the Motion Picture when it came out, but I remember us going to the theater and being excited. And obviously me being excited because I'm pretty sure Anthony picked the movie, but I just wanted to go along. But that's where a lot of this passion comes from, is when I was little. And where do you get that from? If you like your siblings, then then you emulate. Now I've taken it to a whole new level, obviously, making it my business and my life and stuff like that. But that's where it comes from, you know.
So, and Anthony, to your point, is there a moment in the movie that resonated with you? Was there something about that you determine is the best one, or just because the fact that, you know, the sacrifice at the end of the movie was?
I think it was a sacrifice because it was a shock, right? Like death is always a shock, right? Because like, well, in comic books, okay, he'll come back some way somehow, but usually in the theater or in television, it's a little bit more permanent, right? So I think that's like, because I think there was a time, I think there was a petition, right, to bring Spock back, right?
Oh, we got the next movie. That was it.
Yeah.
Search for Spock. So,
yeah.
you know.
And the way they brought it back was fantastic, right? So.
Was it?
You know what? I liked it.
Was it?
Hold on, it's sci-fi. Sometimes you gotta suspend your disbelief.
If you can use that quote and put it under Lower Decks as well, sometimes you got to suspend. You know, and we'll use that as well. So
he dies in like a radiation chamber or something like that.
Yeah, he sacrifices.
Like he gets locked into a thing,
yes,
and then he's correct. Like, and then he just, and then I remember the funeral. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
That was the reverse of
I
what
have seen
happened
it
in the J.J. Abrams movie, where they reversed it. So it was Kirk who made the sacrifice as opposed to Spock. So they flipped it around. Okay, we're gonna go to Tim. Tim, what is?
I'll go with Star Trek Generations back in 1994. That was the very first Next Generation movie. I think for me, you know, growing up watching Next Generation, that was a huge show for me, watching that, going every Sunday to my grandma's house, and we would watch it together, kind of like as a family.
That's cool.
And then, so kind of like to Andre's point, right? Like, you know, that it's a family memory, right? Like it was something that you just remember. So, you know, and that movie was pretty cool, man. It brought in Captain Kirk, right? And who at the time, William Shatner, if I'm not mistaken, hadn't been around too much. Like he wasn't in pop culture as much as he is now. And that was that first show that kind of brought him in. It was,
buddy, he was in Boston Legal. He was all over the place.
No, that's after Generation.
He was also in the 1-800-COLLECT commercials, wasn't he, for a while? But you know, kids who don't know what that is.
Yeah, but if I'm not mistaken, Generations was one of his first things that brought him in.
He was the advertiser for Priceline. Anyways.
Good movie. It then launched the next next 4 movies for Star Trek Generation.
Movies?
I thought that's 5 total, no?
First Contact, Insurrection, Nemesis.
I want to say 4.
Oh, 4. Okay, yeah. Sorry. So the next 3 movies that it brings
4 total, but the next 3, yeah.
Yeah, but it was, it was a good movie, and it was just for the time. It was when the show was ending, so it was just a nice movie. Good time, good memories. So
horseback riding? There's whole scenes devoted to horseback riding. You're okay with that? You're okay with that?
I'm good. Yeah.
Okay.
Chateau Picard. We're good.
Okay. Yep. Cool. Carry on. Got it. I can see where Tim and me are aligning on this very, very clearly. John, go for it.
Oh man, I feel like I'm gonna get ostracized because I'm the only one picking from the new trilogy. I'm gonna pick the only one that I've seen in theaters, because I was a little too young. Voyage Home I saw in school for our whale unit. Oh. they wheeled in that TV with the VCR, and we watched the Voyage Home, and it was really good. I don't know if that's considered like one of the better movies, but I remember it being very good. Wrath of Khan I thought I didn't see, but apparently when you guys talking about it, I have seen it. I don't remember Khan at all. I remember Bugs in the Ear, which probably just killed me, and the death of Spock. But I'm gonna pick Star Trek Beyond. I actually did not see the first 2 in theaters because of all the negativity towards Star Trek. And then I actually I did like them, but Beyond was the only one I actually saw in theaters, and I really liked that one. And it's obvious, Justin Lin, Fast and the Furious, Star Trek, and Fast and the Furious in space, basically.
Okay, that is what was your favorite moment in that movie, John? Can you give us some insight?
It's got to be Beastie Boys and the motorcycle.
Oh God!
And the motorcycles, yeah.
Yep, totally makes sense. On brand. Carry on.
Like Into the Darkness, just to go against everybody, because I actually did like Into the Darkness because I had no memory of this Khan character at all. So when he came up and he was like basically kicking the crap out of Kirk, so I was like, "Oh, this guy's cool," and everyone's like, "Oh, actually, like the character is not supposed to be like that." I'm like, "Okay, I don't know."
So let me just mention to Tim, Anthony, and Andre, you know this stuff is for? It's for John. It's for people like John. to get into
You
Star
already
Trek.
said it. Yeah,
Everything's for
And
John.
that's fine. It's good.
And I loved it. I went online and tried to buy that away team jacket, that away team leather jacket. I went online and was looking for a replica for that jacket, but I couldn't get 2 other friends to commit because I would look silly walking around alone with it. So if anyone else is down out there, give me a call.
Put in the comment section.
We can roll together in our away team
posse
jacket.
up.
You look silly on your own.
Oh.
So sad.
Shut up, Rob.
Okay. Wow. This pod is perfect. It's telling you everything you need to know. Rob.
You know, I'm just going to say, after listening to Andre's touching story, that if my older brother took me to see Star Trek the Motion Picture in the theater, I would have punched him in the head. Star Trek the Motion Picture is a horrible fucking movie. It's atrocious. I think there are really 2 definitive, amazing Star Trek movies that are, we all know the theory of the odd and even number Star Trek movies. Usually the even ones are relatively good and the odd ones are not. I'm going to go with, and if Stu doesn't mention the second one, but I'm going to go with First Contact as probably being the best Star Trek movie. I think I just rewatched it recently and it holds up. It absolutely holds up. Yes, obviously some of the special effects a bit dated, but the movie itself holds up. And I would throw that on any day of the week, or if you just need a good sci-fi, because it wasn't just a Star Trek movie, it was a good sci-fi movie. Yeah. So, First Contact.
Is there a scene in the movie that you'll?
Yeah, when they're the Beastie Boys on the motorcycles. Yes! No, you know what?
Is that the magic carpet ride? Is that the one where Zephyr Cochrane's like, I gotta turn the music on? It's like boom.
Yeah, no. I actually really liked when they did the spacewalk and you saw the grav boots dropping onto the dish, and then the camera flips, they're upside down, the camera flips over and some of that, and you see them just the slow-mo trying to like shoot in space, and the Borg are trying to hook up the dish, right, to be able to signal back and whatnut.
From the Delta Quadrant.
Sounds very exciting.
I even thought, though, that the people, like even James Cromwell and I'm going to forget her name. Anyways, Down on Earth, like even that stuff was just as polarizing as the stuff that was in the space, right? Like Deanna Troi, drunk in the bar, trying to get, Zephyr Cochrane to listen to reason and having to, the whole thing was just great. Honestly, it was just and Data.
Does it feature the whole Next Generation cast?
It does. It does. And Alice Krieg as the Borg Queen.
Yeah.
That shot of her coming down, you'd see it was only her spine dropping into the body. Like, just phenomenal. Just a great movie. So overall, that's the best. It had so much.
That was my second pick, Rob.
No, it wasn't.
To echo that sentiment, First Contact is by far the best.
I thought it was considered the definitive one.
It is the number one in all accounts. The way that because of the continuity of the show, Worf was on the Defiant and he wasn't on the ship. When the Borg is happening, that first scene where the Federation ships are fighting the Borg, and Worf is like ramming speed. Like, if I'm going down, I'm taking these guys with me. And then they say, oh, look, it's the Enterprise. And it pumps in the scene and starts taking stuff, and they beam Worf on board, and like, we're going for this. I'm taking over command of the fleet because Picard has been compromised.
Can I call spoilers? I haven't seen it yet.
Shut up.
Idiot.
We got to be careful on this.
So that movie.
I'll get it on it. Sounds awesome.
Edit that in the post.
And here's the thing about that show, that movie. It's different than anything else because even for Generations, it didn't have as much action. You would say that controversially, that grab boot scene and the fighting, like, it's so different than anything else of Star Trek. It moved a little bit towards action, so much so that I think it spoiled me with the next 2 movies. I'm like, why is it not the same as First Contact? Lieutenant Hawk was tremendous, and I keep on, like, my 2 favorite moments is Picard on that scene talking about every time we move forward we have to pull back, and the whole thing about Ahab, and just the dialogue of like a person who is truly compromised by his experience with the Borg. It's like trying to do what he does. So that was great. The Barclay scenes on Earth with Cochrane was great. And then the shout out to that one security officer throughout the movie who keeps on coming up. He's like, they're taking over the next deck. And he comes up, he's more like cut. He's like, they have the next deck. And he keeps on coming back up. I'm like, dude, it's a
missing an eye.
Yeah, he's like every single time his shirt's a little ripped and he's like, that dude is fighting Borg. I don't even know his name.
Running into every deck, seeing
every single time he comes up, he's like, guys, I don't know we can hold it. He's not even chief security officer. He's like, guys, I don't think we can hold this out anymore. So there's that level of like just the little nuances of that the show that I'm like, man, this is great. And also there's the Star Trek CCG where they at least put them all on cards. So I did remember his name at one point. But that's why I'm, it's a whole.
So wait, Alfre Woodard
yes.
is the woman I was trying to remember. Man,
she was in The Avengers.
Yes, her performance was amazing. I mean, she took Picard to task. She yelled at him and told him he's being a damn fool. Like, it was great. But I just, as an honorable mention, Stu, Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, the final original cast movie is a great movie as well. That is a lot of fun.
With the great Christopher Plummer. So
that's right.
As Kang. So anyway,
that was the first movie you see like the floating blood.
Yep.
How bad is Insurrection?
The worst.
Like, because I remember I worked at
not as bad as the first movie. Not as bad as the
I don't even know about that one. I don't even know about that one.
No,
you know,
motion picture's horrible.
Yeah, like, we had a whole wall of them, and no one was renting it at all. I remember, like, we just had a whole wall full of them. Insurrection. It had a holographic cover, and nobody was touching it. And I was just like, "What's wrong with this movie?"
So before we get into just bashing other movies, I promised Andre an opportunity to give his other moments outside of it. So Andre, the floor is yours to talk about that moment, and I'll give everyone else a chance. But before we do some bashing,
I think one of the things that makes just our experience and our memories special is who we share them with. So Tim, watching Next Generation with his grandmother, like you're going to remember those things. Yeah. But I remember specifically going and it was Star Trek Nemesis, and I took my mom to see that movie. You know, my mom's great. Like, you know, she's always kind of endorsed, you know, what we love, but maybe isn't like right there of the same level that we are, but she, you know, like a trooper, she came to the movie, and I remember, you know, like, and she did like Next Generation, but it was really great because after the movie, I'm like, so what did you think? And she's like, I really like their white dress. So it's like a totally
it's very sharp.
You know, but it was so great. And then again, a shout out to
Will Wheaton cameo,
the J.J. Abrams movie. While I totally, you know, I didn't like them. But again, taking my mom and my partner to go see that, and it was her first real exposure to it, and then her liking the movie, like just absolutely enjoying it, you know. So there's a little bit of that energy that does bleed into you. So, you know, part of me can see that like appeal. I just wish it appealed and some of them would be better for me, but it's nice to see it through other people's eyes as well.
And to your point, Andre, that Star Trek movie was 1B in how much I enjoyed the Star Trek movies. It's like, although Wrath of Khan is there, but that Star Trek movie in the first 10 minutes where Chris Helmsworth and the whole thing about that encompasses Star Trek. It's like they show up, the captain goes over, the sacrifice, like all the things that Star Trek is about, scientific exploration. It's like they're doing their thing. Like that whole scene until the credits of Star Trek comes up is incredible. I rewatched it the other day and I'm like, this first 10 minutes is awesome. And they did so many things in that where even they talk about, they went into the Tiberius thing where they said, the same after your dad. It's like, Tiberius, that's the worst. Same after your dad. Like the little nuances of that. The movie has its up and downs, but out of all the new kind of Star Trek movies, it's an incredible rewatch. Like, the soundtrack is amazing. Like, I don't think of any Star Trek songs, but that way that they introduce like the Star Trek theme music in that J.J. Abrams one is part of the soundtrack mix I'll still play because it's incredible soundtrack and the music.
And Chris Pine is
great. Yeah,
he is awesome. I actually really enjoyed the J.J. Abrams, that first movie, a lot. I quite enjoyed it. Yeah.
What do they play when he drives off the cliff? What song is that? Do you remember?
It's a Beastie Boys, jackass.
We get it, John. We get it. Beastie Boys.
Yeah, it was a Thelma Louise moment. All right, go on.
We got it. But like even the little nuance where he meets McCoy for their first time, and I know you don't like Kirk, but that you gotta respect the part was like my ex-wife took everything, the planet all I have left are my bones. I'm like that is an incredible. Like there is nobody better than Carl Urban like to be Hank McCoy. It was the best. It was incredible. Tim, any additional thoughts on Star Trek? I know you were talking about First Contact potentially being your second, but any additional?
Yeah, actually, when I was preparing for this, and I was thinking what my first movie was, it was going to be First Contact, because I remember that one was just very exciting. But I also figured, that was something that someone was going to pick, so I had to prepare something different. And Generations being the one that I came up with. But yeah, First Contact was incredible. All the movies have been good, and I think what Andre was also talking about is like, because Star Trek has been such a long-standing series, people from all generations have been watching it, right? And so like, all the movies, like, my mom will still watch, right? Like, even the shows now, if she can figure out the stupid apps and stuff to find these shows, but it's been such a long going series that, like, you have every generation of people have watched it, so everybody can kind of come in at some point. Maybe that's what Lower Decks is for, is to get in the younger people too, right? And then maybe prep them for later in their life. But no, I mean, every movie has been great. The new ones, I love the new ones too. I thought they're great. I'm just disappointed that they're too far spaced out. I wish they did more.
And I agree. And to your point, I think Andre and me can, our love for animation is that the one thing, and jump back to Lower Decks before I jump to Anthony, is that I really appreciated that show where, if you looked at the background characters, all the aliens of a starship, like, were there. Like, every alien I could remember from TNG, there was representation. Like, I know Mott the Barber, who's the blue alien, but like, there was an alien of an officer there. There was, some from the Trill race. There was, that weird alien with I forget the name, had to breathe the oxygen. What was the one, the blue alien in TNG where he had to breathe? Like, there was just Easter eggs,
because we have lives. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah, I know. And including the cat doctor that Rob doesn't like. But in animation, you can.
I just looked that up, by the way, and she's more like a lion in the original 70s cartoon. I don't know that she's necessarily a
You
cat,
don't know what the maturation lifespan is. Maybe she turns into a cat as she gets older, Tim. So slowly, it's like,
look more like Chewbacca.
It's like a lot of people today. You can look younger even though you're old. So Andre's made jokes before. How old is Andre? Because who knows? Who knows how old Anthony and Andre are?
The youngest one here.
They could be the youngest people here, because there's age is but a thing. So
number, Stu, number.
A thing.
Age is a state of mind, not a number.
State of mind. So we're gonna Anthony. Any other additional thoughts on Star Trek? I know you have a story that you want to share, but we're going to wait till a little bit more for you to share your Andre story. I'm going to cue you up, but any thoughts?
Close it up. It's going to close the show.
That's exactly what we're going to do.
Thoughts on what?
Movies. Any other movies outside of,
No, yeah, right. I agree with the First Contact, because I remember that was an awesome, like, it just sort of brought back the memories. And yeah, that was an awesome show, or awesome movie as well. I guess I also feel about the Insurrection. Not the best one, but First Contact was awesome as well. That would be my number 2 as well.
Yep. John?
Was there like I just have a random question. Was there like a series of like extra long episodes that closed out TNG or something like that? I regularly no.
The last
just the finale.
Just the finale.
The finale.
Was the finale like a 2-hour finale?
That was a 2-hour event.
Yeah. Would you consider that like in the movie lore? Or?
No, that's not a movie. It's like a movie theater, man.
I'm just asking, dude. No, I got nothing else.
Okay.
Until the next
Typical
movie.
John.
Rob,
I got nothing else.
Got nothing else. Rob,
I got
anything else that you want to add before we jump over to the next?
No. I mean, really, Rob.
First time and last time we're ever gonna say, Rob, go. No, nothing else. Okay, so we're gonna jump to TV shows, and I might as well go first because everyone already knows. Deep Space Nine is my jam. I appreciate the show from the inception to the very end. I'm a proponent of watching it from the beginning because you need to understand how goofy and how wide-eyed, bushy-tailed that Julian Bashir is, and it's the same why it's similar to the character in first Lower Decks. It's like I'm finally here, like I'm excited to be here. That first season, Julian Bashir was like a complete character that was like, really? Like he'd never been anywhere. This was the first time he's been on even a ship. This was his first choice. He had all these options.
He's a doctor, right?
Yeah, he's the doctor. But he layered into later. You find that he's a super badass that you move later on. Like he's an ultra badass. But like he's just playing the fool. So there's the level of like characters and Andre said it very well, adding to it. Because if you watch DS9 in the first season, there's no way you would imagine that they would add Section 31. They would add the mythos of the Cardassian order. Like the Cardassians were stupid and really not interesting until they added the whole Cardassian Union and then the Obsidian Order. Then you look at the Dominion and what they added there. You look at the Ferengi and the rules of acquisition, which I can still name a bunch of them to this day about how they should work. So like the level, and why I give Lower Decks a little bit of leeway is because any Star Trek show season 1 did not do anything compared to what it did season 6 and 7. So and Enterprise never unfortunately got that level, because what I liked about Enterprise too was that, you know, it had the military aspect. It had Daniel Day Kim as like a military, like, oh, we're not part of the Marine Corps. We're not part of we're the Marine Corps. We're not part of the Navy portion of the Federation, which you never even think of, because all you know through all of Star Trek is that, you know, Miles O'Brien was part of the military before joining, you know, Starfleet. Like he was in a different division and then he switched in. So you never really, to open up that world of, like Andre mentioned it, why don't we get the Marine side of like the hand-to-hand combat? Like, let's see the actual guys that do siege, you know, like the suppression and firing and all that other stuff. So DS9 added everything I wanted and more, including, you know, so many different aspects and characters and growth. So I'm willing to give Star Trek a lot of leeway, because it's proven time and time again, the first episodes, the first seasons, it takes a while to get its footing, but once it gets there, the potential is there. So that is why DS9 is my one.
Do you have a favorite episode in DS9?
There's so many good ones. If I look at when Benjamin Sisko and the relationship with his son and the Candyman, like him going back and forth and Jake trying to rescue his father, it really grabs to my heartstrings about that relationship between the two, because Jake Sisko wasn't really a character that you're like, oh, he's going to be a reporter. And then even him reporting on the front lines, and they actually turned him into something compared to, you know, the Traveler and what with Wesley Crusher is like. Now you're going to be an omnipotent traveler that goes around. Jake Sisko was never going to be that special. He was just going to write and stay on. Like he had that level of, like, I guess, like normality to it, which I appreciated. But the other one is tied is the one where, you know, where Sisko talks about how he lied to get the Romulans to join. Like that is like such a high level of like intrigue and spy. But then you could say any episode with, you know, with Martok, and any episode with the Taylor, and his name is jumping off the top of my mind.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Oh God, who? I forget his name off the top. It's just jumping. But there's so many great episodes in DS9, and I'll Google it in a second. But
one of my favorite ones was the episode where Gul Dukat and Kira Nerys were trapped on the planet, at each other's throats. And I remember I'm like, yo, Dukat, kill him, just kill him. Like he's here, you can do it, you can blame it on. But then the dialogue between them and stuff, and then all of a sudden you see Dukat in this whole new light, and I'm just like, I still hate the guy, but I get the guy a little more.
I hate him so much.
Even Gul Damar like got a little bit of like a redemption near the end. But the other great one too is the goofy baseball episode. But like the episode where you learn about Morn, and he's like, it's the best. You're like, with the heist episode where they did a heist for no reason, and they're like, where's this gold plus latinum? And it's in Morn's spoiler second stomach. I was dying. I'm like, he's like the norm of course, where he talks nonstop, but you never see him talk. And these are the little things where I love, or Julian and Miles always fighting on these holodeck simulations where they lose. So losing battles. So there's just a million episodes, I think. So anyways, that I'm going to go a gush long and on, but we're going to go to John, because I know John is John has yeah.
I have one, but I will ask something. Stu, how were you watching this DS9? Because you're younger than me. Were you just watching it on TV?
It was on
Friday
TV,
nights?
And then it was on Space nonstop for like all of university.
And it was every day on Space. That's how I caught up.
And then I downloaded it. Then I bought the DVDs, and unfortunately, they're unable to do the Blu-ray versions of DS9, unlike what they were able to do for TNG because they filmed it on film. But yeah, I watched it on that. But you can get it readily available now on Netflix, and it is worth the admission. But yes. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I remember I did dive into Deep Space Nine, and I don't remember how I watched it because the town where I grew up, we didn't have cable. We had an antenna on top of the house, and you would turn this dial and it would go different directions and receive the channel. So I didn't actually have much access to much TV. So
Wait, sorry, how does the antenna work again, John?
There's a dial.
Okay, and then the antenna's in the air, and it receives signals.
Scientist,
okay.
Rob.
So, Rob, whoa, I have a digital satellite. Slow down, all right? There's digital, you can get 4K. Slow down, buddy. I'm also trying to save some money here.
Thanks for explaining how a fucking antenna works, John. Excellent.
No, but I'm saying you would point different. No, a lot of these kids won't because they're freaking running off the internet or they're running off cable, right? Actually, who even has cable now? Everything's through streaming and off the internet, right? So they're like, what the hell's an antenna? Exactly. Freaking Dexter. You're going to science me with fire water guy? Get out of here. But yeah, so I didn't. I would have to come and visit my cousins in Toronto, and that's how I saw Next Generation. So Next Generation is probably going to be my jam. And actually, I would always think that I wasn't that huge a fan, but when I was going through some of the episodes and I was looking up the top episodes, I've actually seen a lot of them.
Yeah.
And characters like Geordie LaForge with the visor, I really identified with him because I was, the kid with the glasses. And then the main character that really got me was Data. Yeah. So I remember seeing an episode where he saved someone. He was like jumping, like superhero like, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. So like I always really liked seeing that character. So whenever I would watch an episode and he wasn't there, I would be pretty disappointed. But yeah, Next Generation is definitely going to be my favorite choice for the show.
So let me quickly jump in. It is Elman Garrick, the tailor, which is from DS9.
Garrick.
Who, by the way, now that I think about it, I think the whole Kingsman thing stole that from Star Trek because he was a tailor spy. And I'm like, wait a second. And I'm like, oh, that's why the Kingsman. Anyways,
damn you, Mark Miller.
Mark Miller just watched Star Trek and he just stole the idea. Okay, that's a really good story, John. So that was.
And again, John's bringing in that family relationship, right?
And that's what Star Trek's about.
I would go and watch it with my cousins, and I always felt my cousins were smarter than me, and I'm like, oh, this is a smart show, and I'll watch it now. And I was surprised that every episode I've seen, I do have like big respect for the show. It's just I felt like I wouldn't be tuning in every night, but maybe it was because I couldn't, because that damn antenna that received the thing, according to Poindexter Rob over there.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I think. Yeah, but before we jump over to Tim to talk about his show, I think the thing that we talked before about Lower Decks, and I'm going back to it, is that as Rob is a father of a young lad, as he gets older and he doesn't want to do anything that Rob likes, which is basically he just wants to sit around watching Fortnite. Maybe he can convince him to watch an episode of Lower Decks with him in the future, because it's the bridge gap between a young guy where there's a few jokes that doesn't want to watch.
I think Rob's humor is actually more mature than his.
Yeah, true. Like, as much as I want to learn about,
you'd be like, Dad, what's with all these dick jokes?
Dick and fart jokes, Dad.
As much as I want to learn about gel packs from Voyager, like I need some, some jokes to be thrown in between, and I got to crawl through more Jeffries tubes. But go ahead, Tim. Share with us your.
I kind of thought you were going to say Deep Space Nine, which really was, up until recently, my far and away best show, I thought. The Defiant, man, that ship was so awesome. The way it shot bullets instead of lasers, like that was the first one I think that shot like bullets instead, right? Like, so I love that. I'm going with Discovery. I think after a long lull. No, come on.
Let him talk.
And to be fair, I just threw out my Discovery T-shirt that I got from Fan Expo last year because it was some bootleg version and it wasn't like properly aligned, and I got so every time I'd look in the mirror I'd be like, what the hell's wrong with me? Like I thought my body was morphing, so I threw that out so I don't have it.
It did. Your body is
morphing. Well, that's too. So it brought focus to the problem. But no, Discovery, man, dang, I love this show. Like after Voyager, which was not the greatest, I wasn't such a fan. Enterprise, hated that with a passion. Discovery comes out with this crazy budget. Like, holy man, this show looks so good. The characters are amazing. Michelle Yeoh, like, awesome. the whole like parallel universe thing and stuff like that they were doing in the first season, and the fact that this was the first show that was just one giant movie. Like it was a 13 episode, like just one long storyline, right? It didn't go off in their little episodes like we're used to Star Trek shows doing, which I do miss, by the way. And I think they're saying that the Strange New Worlds, that the new series is going to be like that. It's going to be one-off episodes, but the characters are amazing. Then you get short treks between season 1 and 2, which was a great filler, and you really should have watched it because it brought in characters that they did use in season 2. Then season 2 brings in Captain Pike and Number 1, which they're spinning off into their own show, and that will, and Spock, of course. Great actors, great cast. They bring in the comedian Tig Notaro, who plays Jet Reno. That character, incredible, super funny, loved her too. And if you haven't watched her special on Netflix, go watch that, it's hilarious. But that season was fantastic, and now they're jumping 900 years into the future, so this is going to be the most advanced timeline we've ever seen in Star Trek, which opens up huge doors for them. I know some people don't like the spore technology and stuff like that, but I thought it was really cool. I like whenever they go into code black, the way the ship, the lighting goes off, the way it spins. I just think let him talk. I think the effects are amazing. The fight scenes, the money that they put into this show, and then knowing that this is really what has spawned off like this whole Star Trek boom for us now, right? Because it brought in the most viewers or the most subscribers for CBS All Access in the States, like had their greatest numbers, blah, blah, blah. But, it's just launched everything for us. And I have a huge appreciation for it. I think the cast is great. The story is good. And I'm so excited for the way season 3 goes too. Like you said, first couple seasons, maybe not always the best in a Star Trek show. This now, the way they're launching in, who knows what's going to happen, and they've set a good tone. So, and the budget, man, the cost of these episodes.
And thank you to the producers of Star Trek for filming in Toronto. We appreciate your money in dollars. So let's continue.
Hey, shout out to my buddy who did VFX for the show. I actually tried to get him on today, but yeah.
Shout out to them for A, filming here, and B, using our production studios to do their sci-fi. So they are adding to the economy. So I have nothing but good thing to say about that. But
I did actually see
I'm just like, Tim, bro.
I saw. Hold on. I saw.
I think you need another show. You need another show.
I saw Stamets. I saw Stamets at a Loblaws one time when I was downtown, and I was going up an escalator, and coming down is Stamets, and I'm like, what the hell? That's the guy from Discovery. And he goes down, and I go up, and I immediately run around to go catch him and get a photo with him.
You should have hopped it.
I was going to. I ran up and ran down. I chased him down the street to be able to take a photo with him. Man, that was a very cool moment for me.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because Tim, I'm with you. I guess we're gonna get roasted in a few moments, but
yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
I just have a quick story. Like for work, I was down by the docks, and Sheridan College has some studios down there with theaters. And I was getting a tour of some of the stuff they're doing. And then I just see Star Trek Discovery. It was like not the makeup, but the costume room. And I'm just sitting there, I'm just stood there, and I'm like, and I'm just geeking out. And it was like, move along, nothing to see here. And I'm like, but. It's like, I just wanted to get in there for like 5 minutes and just look around. But anyway.
Right.
All right, Anthony, you've already let the cat out of the bag. Keep on going, buddy. Keep
Anthony's
on going.
getting escorted out by the police. He's like, it was worth it.
Watching on the podcast, you can see Andre's reaction. For those listening at home, Andre is just
utter disgust is how you call it.
So
I'm waiting for the mute button to hit now.
I believe it is for the kids at home. It's SMH. So
do I have ejection privileges on Zoom?
Andre and me are both.
This will be my last appearance, guys. Goodbye.
No, it's fine. We can have different opinions because Andre and me disagree on a lot of things, but we are steadfast on this belief. So this is why Andre and me sometimes we don't get along, but this is the unholy alliance that's going to happen momentarily. But Anthony, please continue. Tell us the rationale, because I were truly.
Wait, what is Anthony's favorite show? We haven't.
Well, you know what? Actually, TNG is my favorite, but I really enjoyed Discovery. Like everything Tim said, I agree. The acting's fantastic.
I love.
And I remember having a conversation with Andre, and he says he couldn't get past some of the sci-fi part, but
Rob's getting popcorn.
But I think once you got past, I think Andre, you talked about the little bug or something, but to me that was minor. But like, if you gave it time, I think it just got better. I think it got better.
Wait, Andre, wait.
But here's the thing, Andre, did you watch the rest of it? He probably didn't. So
no, he did not.
I stopped like 3 times, like, and I tried. I got to like episode 9, and I tried, and then it was just like, no, man. You know, that's the thing. You can only leave your brain at the door so many times, and then and I did. You know, like
that's not true. That's John. He does it all the time.
I was gonna say you can do it all the time if you want.
You can't.
Go on a sabbatical.
It makes life great.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite episode? And I'm sorry, I didn't ask Tim either, but your favorite episode of TNG, which is a great question. Anthony.
Who are you asking?
Discovery.
Oh.
No, not
Go ahead, Tim.
TNG. What's your favorite episode of TNG?
Oh, TNG. You know what? I very loved the first episode because it was just because we were such a drought of Star Trek, and then we finally got something. And even, or maybe was it the first episode, or when Q said, "Oh, you guys think you're all that? Here's the board," and I was like, "Whoa!" And I just loved that. It's just like, it was just completely out there, and having Q so crazy and John Picard trying to be so serious, and I don't know. To me, I just love that. It was just really crazy, but I really enjoyed that dynamic. It sort of set the tone for me. Like, okay, this is going to be interesting, and it's going to be cool.
Yep, great. Tim, your favorite episode before we jump on to the
Discovery?
Yeah, because you've talked about points, but what's the best episode?
The best episode of Discovery season 2 is the episode where they introduce Tig Notaro's character, where they go down onto the asteroid, and she's an engineer that has been living on this asteroid after her ship had exploded, and she's keeping everybody alive using her engineering skills, like with robots and whatever. And she's created these little robot drones, and she's created like mine traps around everywhere. Just introducing her character was amazing, and then what she ends up bringing to the show, I love. So
like a Swiss Family Robinson of Star Trek.
Yeah.
You gotta watch it, John. You gotta watch it. But it's good. I like that. I like that episode.
But you know what, Tim? I think the episode with remember when Pike has the flashback after, I think he was.
Yeah.
And then it related to the first, to the OG series when he was in the episode. I was like, damn, that was beautiful. Well, the way they tied that together.
Yeah, and I do think technically, I mean, Short Treks kind of counts, but if you go back, if you go watch the Tribbles episode in Short Treks, if you haven't seen that, amazing, funny.
You can't say that because Coach McGurk doesn't. It does not.
But the characters that they get in that episode are so good, man.
For those who don't know, Coach McGurk, I refer to John H. Benjamin before Sterling Archer and Bob's Burgers because I only know him from Coach McGurk. So this is why it works that way. But okay, Rob.
I have a confession too. I did love Picard.
Oh, I thought I liked this guy.
Anthony, it was so nice meeting you. Unfortunately, we're going to have to ask.
I'm losing your internet connection. You're muting.
First and last podcast.
I can't hear you. There's some distortion.
This guy's taking his brother to go see the motion picture. He likes Picard. Andre.
I heard he likes Transformers too. So.
To be fair, we've had 2 weeks of people leaving movie theater in tears, whether watching Transformers, the original motion picture, in the theater, watching Optimus Prime die or Spock die. So this is what the 80s brought you: death,
sadness,
death and sadness. This is why those don't happen anymore. Rob, did you have a favorite episode that you want to bring up before I go to Andre to slow us down?
Oh, you mean for my favorite show?
Favorite show. And favorite episode, yes.
You know, it's tough. I actually kind of enjoyed Enterprise, but I'm going to go with Voyager. I actually really enjoyed Voyager. I found it to be really palatable to be able to watch.
With Jerry Ryan in it, right?
Yep. They were easy. They were easy watches. Yes, that's why it was so palatable for me.
That's what I'm saying. Tuned in when Jerry Ryan showed up, right?
Well, when Cass left, that was kind of, she needed to change it up. So
no, I really enjoyed that. Listen, it was different from what had come before with the original Next Gen DS9. You weren't dealing with the same foes, right? There was no rogues gallery. You were off into a whole different star system. It was just fun. I remember the finale was great. They finally made their way back to Earth. He was more of a future where you see, you know, people who had passed away, people who had kind of hooked up. I just really enjoyed that series as a whole. Just everybody was just kind of, it was just fun. It was fun to watch. And yeah, that, for me, was probably, because I felt Next Gen was really serious. I felt DS9, I enjoyed Next Gen. I felt DS9 was darker, that darker take on things. As much as I enjoyed it, it was a bit, but I felt Voyager was just fun. Like, it just seemed fun to me. So I'm going to go with Voyager. As for my favorite episode, honestly, the entire time I've been sitting here thinking about this, the only thing I can think of is when Janeway and Tom.
Is it a dick joke?
When they turn to those sludgy
primordial alien things.
Yeah, and then they end up like having sex as primordial aliens, and then when they get back to the ship, Janeway is like, "You're never mentioning that ever again." And Tom's like, "Yes, ma'am," like that. For whatever reason, that's the only episode that can come to mind. But I've only had 2 cups of coffee. So.
It sounds like an upcoming Lower Decks episode.
Yeah, probably.
Oh boy, yeah.
No pun intended, right, John? So. At any rate, yeah. So that's my yeah.
Okay, Andre, you're gonna close us off with this. We're gonna let you go on.
Well, clearly, since Anthony and Tim picked the Discovery, I gotta pick Picard, right? Like, I gotta just do that. If we're talking, this episode's about bad Star Trek, right? Lower Decks, Discovery.
No.
Star Trek, right? All right, so yeah.
Does Picard go to space? I watched episode 1. It looked like he was on a farm. I was like, this is the wrong show. It's on a farm, right?
Oh, he's got a winery? What's happening here?
Yeah, I was like, what's going on here?
Star Trek St. Catherine's.
Yeah.
So yeah, the best Star Trek for me, while I did enjoy obviously the original series, it wasn't my full jam, because I could digest and take all of the Next Generation, and I think to me, unfortunately, that's the standard, that's the bar that I hold all Star Trek to. For me, again, all the characters in Next Generation, every one of them was fantastic. They were like diverse, unique. You could, like John said, there's so many people. You had to connect with one or several of them, and it was just a really cool take on the universe and where humanity could be. So many great episodes for it. I think my ultimate favorite one, though, was the season finale. I thought that was fantastic, how they tied everything in together and saying, hey, the galaxy isn't as different as you think. Everybody is connected. There was this one kind of thing. And I thought that was a really cool message for it. So I think I remember buying that last episode. They actually released it on VHS, 2 VHSs. There was the one I got was the episode, and then
I remember we had that for rent. That's why I was asking if it was considered a movie. It was a dual VHS set.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I still have it to this day. So yeah, great series. But I do want to put a second episode, a shout out to a second episode, and the reason I rewatched it recently was because of the Picard show. And
was it the Beverly Crusher ghost episode?
No.
Was that one where that's a great one.
It was the episode where Picard and Riker have to prove that Data is sentient.
That's my favorite episode.
And
that's my favorite episode.
That was so the reason I watched that was because Holly and I wanted her to watch Picard, but she's never watched Star Trek. So we watched that first episode, and then there was a lot of context missing. So I said, hey, let's go on Netflix and watch this episode. And I remembered the name and could cue it up and everything. And that episode was fantastic. Like just Picard and Riker, they were against each other, and Riker didn't want to win, but he knew he'd be like, I get court-martialed if I don't do my best. And Data was just like packing up his stuff, and he's like, well, I'm leaving. And then they're like, no, you can't leave your property. And how they go through and break that down, it was just such a great episode. And then when you looked at the beginning of Picard, it's like all the names, everything, like they did at least do their due diligence in locking it up. But yeah, so it was wicked. Patrick Stewart again, like, you know, I think he's like just a great ideal. Like I think a lot of people would aspire to be that kind of strong and righteous and stuff, but you know, it's like, man, that's a high bar. But there was a price for him to be that way. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people thought he was cold and stuff. So yeah, like, you know, while the Picard show didn't deliver exactly what I wanted, it was so good to see Patrick Stewart as Picard again. And I will say, I am going to watch the next season if they get Guinan in there, because some of those episodes were just fantastic. Like Guinan was his equal and superior. That was, you know, so I'm looking forward to that.
A confidant, yeah.
But yeah, and Rob's shaking his head, but like I think there's definitely a difference. Like obviously I like things maybe a little bit more serious and stuff, but there's a couple moments in Picard in the very first episode, and I think it was maybe the third or fourth. They get Picard right. Everything else they got wrong. But when he was talking about what, you know, like what the potential for an offspring of Data would mean to him, and when it was that episode with the where he's getting interviewed, and he's like, no, I did the right thing. Starfleet failed. It's like that righteousness, and he's like, that's why I left. And he said, this interview's over. It's so good for that show to have shown us that the characters stayed true to what they were. And I guess that really resonated for me is because in Star Wars, they bastardized all the characters we loved. And at least in Picard, everything else was wrong or not in the same way. But when we saw Riker and Troy, we're like, yeah, they would get together and they would do that. It's like it felt, sure, 7 of 9 was different, but was it really that far off of what she could have been? Yeah, Hugh wasn't right, but the core I felt was right. And if I get to see LaForge again and what he's doing, and if I get to see like Guinan, like I would stick, you know, yeah.
Andre, and they took an 82-year-old guy and threw him the fuck all over the place, man. They dragged his body out and beat the shit out of him. I felt bad.
This is not a Weekend at Bernie's situation, so slow down.
But it almost was, Stu. It almost was.
To Andre's point, and I'm backing him up.
I want to see a prequel of
let me go. First off, it's documented fact that Patrick Stewart took things too damn seriously in TNG. For the first 2 seasons, he has openly said he was an ass because he took it too seriously. He wasn't having fun with the crew. He wasn't joking around, and he realized that was wrong. He's the lead, and he has to lighten up. And then you can see that in the show carry forward. And to Andre's point, that's the moment when he decides to join them to play poker at the last episode that makes you realize that this is a great show. That payoff of like, you don't mind if I join you guys? Like, you've never seen him play there. And clearly and they're all surprised to see him. So it wasn't like he was a normal like poker player. And then to see them all look at the admiration. He's like, I'll tell you some stories while I'm dealing cards. Do you have one more? Like, that is a moment of like camaraderie and friendship that you can't emulate on other shows. Like, people like, you know, when people don't like each other on TV shows, and you could tell the cast genuinely liked each other. To Andre's point about Picard and Patrick Stewart, he understands the character, and that is the same reason why Andre and me have the gripe with Star Wars. He didn't change who he was, and at the end of the day, he stood for something. He had morals, and if it meant him leaving Starfleet, it meant him leaving Starfleet. So I'm completely fine with that. Everything else, to Andre's point, is what I agree with. It was wrong on so many different levels, but that's indicative of today's society, and and why I didn't like it was not because it was a terrible show. It's just, I wanted something happier. I wanted something more campier. But it's no different than Persons of Interest. It is showing us the path of what will happen if we give our data, we let these large corporations, large governments control us. So just because I didn't like it in that sense doesn't mean it was a bad show. It just, the way they went at it, it's like Star Trek's not supposed to be that dark. But as we've discussed through this podcast, is that I think we can all agree that every Star Trek show has been a slightly different than the one before it. Because TNG was different than the original series. DS9 was on a space station. Voyager was in the Delta Quadrant. And even the storytelling, DS9 was a connected storytelling. And people probably hated that too. It's like, why do I need to watch 6 episodes to know what's happening? Can I just watch one-offs? So Star Trek evolves and grows with the decades and the people that write them, which is why I give a pass to a lot of it. We can always go back and we still have those stories, but at least the good thing is they don't go back and say, now here's DS9 and we're going to take away that from you. Even the movies which said we create a separate timeline. The J.J. Abrams universe, they said, it's a separate timeline. Great. Then all my stuff isn't gone. I still get it. Unlike Star Trek, where they're like, that's now legacy. All that you know and love is
like Star Wars.
Star Wars is like, all that stuff, Mary Jane, didn't exist. But Star Trek is like parallel universe. So you know what? I'm fine with Fast and Furious Star Trek because I still have my Star Trek available to me and watch it anytime. So it may not be our cup of tea, but I think we can all agree that the more they do, maybe something will pop up that's good. So, yeah, to the point of Discovery, like I see a lot of good things in Discovery too, but just that storytelling of DS9, of like that coherent story of like what the toll is on war and what the Houdini minds and like what the toll of that type of a federation that was losing a war, not just like, oh, we're playing a war, but they are losing. It's something we never saw before. The Federation always like, we're winning. We're always good. We never have a problem. And the fact that they were losing and then they brought the Breen to just kick their ass. I was like, what is happening? This show is, they needed the Cardassians to usurp in the last minute to get, like, everything about that was, you know, and I just imagine what it would like when, and we can talk about this too, is that, remember, like, Babylon 5 was supposed to be a Star Trek show, but they were like, we can't do a space station. We're a ship TV show. Babylon 5 as a Star Trek show would have been the greatest TV show ever written because Babylon 5 is amazing. But the sci-fi and CGI was so bad, you can't rewatch it. Like, it's so, like, it's awful. Like, the shadows and everything. Like, if they put that in Star Trek, like, that would be the greatest show ever. But the producers, like, it's not, we're spaceships. So again, like, they have to evolve Andre as well because we lost Babylon 5 and that's part of the whole thing.
Babylon 5 was only supposed to be 5 seasons, and he got it. Then they did the Babylon 5 Rangers, which wasn't Straczynski, and it wasn't as good. But Babylon 5, again, if you could rewatch it, 5 seasons with a clear path. And I think that's maybe what I don't like about what I hear about Discovery. It's like, oh, we're changing showrunners. Oh, the showrunner's gone. It's like, you've got in 3 seasons, you've got 3 totally different styles of show. And I think that tells me that when they created it, they had no idea where they were going. Whereas with DS9, once they hit that thing running from season, like Stu said, once they hit season 3 on, boom, they knew where they were going. There was no delineation. There's no, hey, let's bring in a Captain Pike. Let's bring in Spock. You didn't need to save DS9. It was going. I think with Discovery, coolest premise. Coolest premise, because I was excited for Discovery. I'm like, Michelle Yeoh, love her. The girl from Walking Dead, love her. It's called Discovery. They're going to fly and they're going to, you know, find new stuff. And I watched that first episode. Like Tim said, I'm like, whoa, this looks amazing. But then I literally watched 2 people walk on a desert and make a Starfleet symbol in sand with no wind. Like, that would have not been, I'm like, dude.
But let's blow Picard halfway across the bridge and have him get up going, what just happened?
But hold on. But to Andre's point, season 3 is where we're gonna do the Discovery now.
That's cool, but to get there, they asked too much of me from the 9 episodes of the first season. And I get it. Maybe I should go back and rewatch it. But now it's a different show. It's got different people. It had to bring those things in to save it. So they didn't have a plan. And I think that's...
Or was this the plan?
Andre, to be fair, Discovery...
At
least Discovery, Andre...
Long game.
Yeah. At least Discovery is what? 22 episodes for 2 seasons? How many episodes is it?
Yeah, it's about 13 and 12,
a season?
I think.
Unlike DS9, which I love, but 22 episodes in season 1 is a slog. And like them going in the Dabu table and just terrible episodes. Until where Cisco shaves his head. The philosophy when facial hair comes into it, or a haircut, when the show gets good. Riker grows the beard, awesome show. Janeway cuts the hair, good show. Cisco shaves his hair, gets a goatee, boom, show gets better. So we're just waiting for someone on Discovery to get a haircut, and we're ready. Like, this is how Star Trek works. You change
Michael
your
Burnham,
hair, beard, and you're. This is how it works. Your life gets better when you grow a beard. So let the record state in Star Trek. That's how it works. Tell me I'm wrong.
So, you're wrong. Let's move on.
Andre and me can go on for hours. Tim,
yes,
or
and you have
any thoughts, Tim?
What's that?
Any thoughts on our riff-raff back and forth commentary?
I think it's a good discussion. I think what anybody listening to this podcast is going to realize is that there is so many different Star Treks that one of them is going to vibe with you, and one of them is going to, at least one is going to jive with you, and it's going to be something that you're going to enjoy. I do think the new stuff is good. I do think check out Discovery, check out Short Treks. Check out, and then when what is it? Is it Strange New Worlds, Brave New Worlds? What is the new one coming out? Whatever
Strange
it is.
New Worlds, I think.
Strange New Worlds, yeah, whatever that is. That that cast. I mean, look, that I don't think they had a plan to launch Pike into his own series. That was fan reaction that demanded that they wanted to see Pike in his own show because. Per the internet, it was supposed to be Michelle Yeoh was supposed to get a show on her own, and I think they've now abandoned that.
Discovery
they still have it potential.
That's the thing. Like, I was like, oh my god, I love it, and then she's like gone 3 episodes in, and I'm like,
no, but she's not. No, but she's not though. You got to keep watching. She's in.
Let's bring her back as her evil version or whatever.
And she was always the evil.
Yeah,
version.
but she's awesome.
She's always the evil.
That works.
Yeah, no, and the fact is, I'm happy that she doesn't spin off to her own new show now, because now she gets to stay in this continuum with us, and we're gonna get more of her. So I just think in general, anybody listening, look, there's lots for you to see, like whatever you want, and try dabble in different ones, because it's going to be depending on the cast, depending on the look, the vibe, whatever you want, but there's going to be one for you for sure.
Awesome.
It's probably Discovery, but okay.
It's the one that's on right now. But here's the thing: you can watch DS9 on Netflix now. You have to get all access on CBS to get or space. So
no. Okay, but in Canada, it's on Crave, right? And or if you have what do I have? This Bell 5 TV app, right? And Crave, it's all on there.
But if you don't got it, you got Netflix only. TNG, and Voyager, and DS9 are available to you. So as we're rounded up, Rob, final thoughts?
No, another episode someday we can talk about what's better for Star
You're not going to
Trek.
explain how cable the streaming services work?
Is it movies or TV shows? Is what better serves the property? I don't know.
TVs, but that's it. TV. You get more.
At any
story.
rate, listen. If people are still listening to this, I hope you all have a good week. I hope you enjoy Star Trek and whatever iteration you enjoy it. Hopefully, the next episode of Lower Decks has some dirty shit,
some more dick and fart jokes.
And if not, I'm out. Like, I'll smell you later, Lower Decks.
I'm gonna keep on going. Anthony, final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not. I might give Lower Decks another shot, but like I said, I'm on the fence. It's like, again, as I said in the beginning, I like the potential it can be, but it's too Rick and Morty-ish for me, I guess, and I don't know. It's just.
But it's not, because Rick and Morty's funny.
Yeah. Okay.
But
anyways,
that's not my style, but that's okay.
Everyone's humor is different. Yeah. John, final
Rick and
thoughts?
Morty, not for everybody.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I actually liked it more. I watched it a second time, so I'm gonna stick with it.
I saw it twice as well. I watched it twice. Yeah.
It fits into where I need it to be.
But again, I'm more forgiving for Star Trek shows. I watched all of Picard. I watched all of Voyager. I'm doing it, or Discovery, because I love Star Trek. And the precedent's been set that season 1 is always a gong show, and you gotta pain stick yourself like any Klingon. You gotta walk through each level and be down with the pain stick to get to the promised land. So that's what happens with Worf, and that's how I go things, and that's why I'm gonna watch all 10 episodes. So a true Klingon with 2 beating hearts will do that. So as we wrap things up, we're gonna finish off. Where can people? Oh, one last thing, correction. Apparently, one of our viewers pointed out there was an LGBT alien race. So in TNG. So thanks for the pointing out. Apparently, I missed one alien species that was gender neutral. So I remember that episode too. So thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah.
My bad, but I think it's more on display on Discovery, which is what I like about it too, that they really opened up diversity, which is what one of the good things about Discovery is. Tim, where can we find you on the internets and the interwebs and whatnot?
XX_Timbo_Slice_XX. Rolls off the tongue. Find me there. Video games, comics, whatever. Posting all that stuff.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Thank you, Tim. Sorry we've kept you extra long, so if you got a dip.
No
definitely
worries.
dip.
I'm good.
Anthony,
Thanks, guys.
where can they find you on the internet if that's a possibility? No, you're on mute.
You're muted, buddy. You're muted.
He's got a bird.
No, can't hear you. It's okay. Your bird is.
We'll plug you in the comments.
Yeah, we'll plug you in the comments. It's fine. Andre, John. Rob. Where Rob go, and then I'll give Andre, John. Rob, where can they find you?
In my pool. But online, it's going to be on Instagram and Twitter is at Rob Gadet. And on Tuesdays, John and I are talking shit about whatever, and then I don't know, maybe we'll do another Lower Decks recap on Thursday evening.
Yeah,
you're like the cat. We gotta blur you or beep you out. You're gonna get us an NCAA rating on Netflix and on all our social media tags. It's like not safe for kids. Robin, so Andre and John.
Stop drinking, Stu.
Well, it's early in the morning. Where can they find you guys?
So Heroes World Online, the website Heroes World Online, the YouTube Heroes World Online, Facebook Heroes World Online, and we now are on iTunes, Spotify, and all your major podcast distribution sites. You either search Heroes World Online or search Heroes World Podcast, or you might have to type in the episode for Spotify and TuneIn. I think you have to type in HWP, Heroes World Podcast, and then whatever episode number you're looking for, and then we should pop up until we get more streams and stuff like that.
And again, please support your local stores. If you're in the Markham area, go to the store where Andre and John are to buy some stuff, as Andre had mentioned before. If you are not in the GTA, they will mail stuff to you, sales at Heroes World, so that is an option. And if you are not in Canada and you're listening somewhere around the world, thank you so much. We appreciate your like and support and comments, but support your local stores wherever you are, especially in our brothers and sisters to the south. Please support them. They need all the help they can get at this standpoint. So again, please comment below. Andre, I'll give you final thoughts, a comment to go out. Please subscribe, follow, put your comments on what your favorite TV Star Trek show is, favorite movie. Tell Andre and me that we're wrong, or
you're wrong.
Tim and Anthony are wrong, and Rob's always wrong, so you don't have to tell him anything. It's fine.
And tell me I'm right.
And tell John he's right, that you love Fast and Furious, Star Trek. But Andre, close us off.
I just wanted to say, hey, boldly go where no one has gone before.
All right. Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.
All right.